whereas the qualitative data is very much factual. That's what it is. Qualitative data is more open to interpretation and therefore needs to be thought about slightly differently as well. Hi, and welcome to Helping You Perform. I'm your host, Paul Teasdale. Over a career working with high-performing teams from across the globe, including 7 years working with Formula One team McLaren, I've learned a lot about what it takes to drive results. In this weekly podcast series, I'm going to be bringing you tips, tricks, and insights from the world of Formula One that you can apply for your organisation for your own high performance. Enjoy. Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of Helping You Perform, where I bring my tips, tricks, insights and stories from the world of F1 and help you accelerate your own performance. I hope you enjoyed last week's episode, which was all about the personal shield, a great tool that I've used personally and with a lot of coaching clients to get great results for those big decisions in life in particular. You know, how do you understand what's important to you so that you can make those compromise type decisions? In this week's episode, I wanted to talk about a question that I was asked a lot actually on a recent webinar that I was on. So I was talking about lessons from F1, what you can take to business, what you can take to individuals. And there was a lot of great Q&A at the end. And one of the topics that came up quite a bit was talking about qualitative and quantitative data. So we talk about data-supported decisions and how you generate insights. So go back to the rapid performance framework. That insights layer is critical. But what about data when it comes to that data level that isn't just numbers? What if it's qualitative data? So I thought I'd explore that a little bit in this week's session, looking at the difference between quantitative and qualitative. This is going to be a good one for me and my teeth if I've got them in, making sure I've got those cues all sorted out. But also, what can we learn from that, and what do we need to think about when we're looking about insights? Because ultimately, all of this data should be, going back to the rapid performance model, the data that supports the insights that we need to make the best decisions for our performance. So let's start off with a bit of a definition. So what is qualitative and what is quantitative data? Well, quantitative is probably the one that we know the most, and one when we say data, most people think of. It's the numbers. It's the ability to count and measure something. And that can either be sort of continuous data, so a length. So you've got a length, but you can break that down into smaller sort of centimeters, millimeters, whatever it is. But ultimately, it goes on infinitely. Or you might have discrete data. So this is where you've only got like a few different options, and it sits within those option numbers. So maybe a 1 to 10 scale, and you've only got the option to choose whole numbers, for instance. So that's what we generally think about when we think about data, is we think about that quantitative. But actually, qualitative data is really important as well. And particularly in a lot of industry where we're basing decisions on things like feedback from people and, you know, the opinions, maybe it's surveys that we've done. So that qualitative data is more descriptive. It's that sort of there to understand why or how something's happening, and it's there to as an open to interpretation. So whereas the qualitative data is very much factual, that's what it is. Qualitative data is more open to interpretation and therefore needs to be thought about slightly differently as well. So when we think about how we're analyzing qualitative data versus quantitative data, quantitative data is analyzed using stats. That's the whole point of statistics. They're there to analyze and measure and understand the importance of the quantitative data. When we're looking to measure and understand and analyze qualitative data, we need to start thinking about grouping that data into more meaningful themes or categories. So this might be around regions. You know, it's like a particular type of qualitative data might be what we call ordinal, which is when we've got an order or a sort of almost like a 1 to 5 scale, but it's things like when you get a survey that says, was this service very poor, okay, good, or great? There's an order to that data, and there's only a certain amount of options that you can choose from. But actually, you can't really put a figure between what makes good and great. What's the gap between them? How do we measure that? It's very subjective for people. Whereas we also have nominal data, which is where we start to think about maybe the countries or the regions of something, eye color, hair color, where you've got that opinion, or not just an opinion, but you've got that sort of descriptive element of what it is, but it doesn't really form into a category. So you've got to think about what's the type of data I'm dealing with, and if we go back to that rapid performance model, what data is going to help us to make the decisions at hand? So if you're making a design decision, something about the way your product or your service is designed and set up and serviced, then it's really important to think about not only the qualitative data, but also the quantitative data as well. And the two together make a really rich decision-making process. So with all of this data, what you really need to think about is, how does it help me with the insights that I need to make the best decisions? So you need qualitative data and quantitative data for the purpose of driving insights. And if you can think about it that way, stop thinking about, or I would encourage you to stop thinking about just what data I have, but actually what data do I need to generate the insights that my people need to make the best decisions. So it's great to have a think about all the different types of data that are out there. And with all of the data, you've got to think about, do I trust it? How's it measured? How's it got there? What biases could be in play? But ultimately, think about, what data do I need to drive the insights to make the best decisions so that I can take action and drive performance? I mean, it's a fascinating topic in its own right. I'm sure I could go on loads on this, and we might delve deeper into some of these aspects in future. But I just wanted to touch on this at a bit of a high level this week and say that when you are generating insights, when you're making decisions, try to make that a rich decision by bringing in qualitative and quantitative data and understanding where that's come from, what are some of the limitations of it, all the bits that sit around it. I'd love to have a discussion with you about this. If this is a particular area that you are struggling with right now, drop me a line, go to paulteasdale.co.uk, set up a 30-minute chat. Let's talk about your challenges right now and understand how we can move together, accelerate your performance, and maybe bring some of the insights and stories from F1, apply them to your business, and help you accelerate your own performance. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Helping You Perform podcast. If you found value in this episode, please take a moment to like, share, or review the podcast. You can reach out to me at any time, either through LinkedIn or through my website at www.paulteasdale.co.uk. I look forward to speaking to you in the next episode.